Hey first grade, welcome back to Mr. News Art Class. It's wonderful to see your smiling faces today. In last week's lesson, we talked about using pictographs instead of words to write sentences and tell a story. This is part of our ongoing theme, talking about different purposes for art, different reasons why different people make art, and how your art looks different depending on why you're making it. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about religion. No, I'm not here to preach at you. I'm not a preacher man. But we're going to talk about religion and how making religious art changes the way your art looks. Religion has been a primary reason for making art for thousands and thousands of years. Throughout history, a lot of artists have made art about things that are meaningful to them, like religion is really meaningful and important to people who follow a certain religion. But importantly, when we start talking about making pictures of religious figures, those are usually some kind of role model or person to look up to. In religion, we use the word holy to describe a person who is set apart or a person who is special in some way that we should really look up to and aspire to be ourselves like that person. Now, different religions use this word slightly differently. You might hear people refer to angels as being holy, or saints as being holy people, or a god might be holy. And there is a symbol that we use in our artwork to show that a person is holy. That symbol is a halo. But it hasn't always been that way. Did you know that horns, which we now think of as being something that shows you're a devil or a demon, used to be used to show holiness? Huh? Really? Yeah, really. That changed around the year 1667. That's almost 400 years ago, when a book called Paradise Lost was written. And in that book, horns were used to describe a devil or demon or Satan. And since then, we use horns as a visualization or a symbol of a demon. But before that, horns were actually used as a symbol of holiness. Anyway, today we're focusing on the halo. And where did that come from? If we read various religious texts, whether it's the Bible that Christians follow, or the Torah that Jews follow, or the Quran that Muslims follow, or Buddhist writings, or Hindu writings, there's a lot of different written texts that different religions use. And if you read those, whenever they describe a holy person, they usually describe the face glowing, like a light bulb, basically. Well, if I'm drawing a picture of that or painting a picture of that, how would I make the face look like it's shining? Well, one way to do that is to put a big gold circle around it. And artists actually used gold foil, real gold smashed into a flat, think like aluminum foil that you wrap a sandwich in, but made out of gold instead of aluminum. And they would actually apply that to their painting to make it really shine, especially if you had a light shining on the picture. And it wasn't just Christian paintings that used this imagery. There are also Hindu and Buddhist and Jewish and all sorts of other religious images that used this halo effect to show that a person is glowing. Well, that doesn't look much like a halo as we think of a halo, because when we think of a halo, we think about a ring that floats up above the head. Where did that come from? Well, these halos are a ring that's floating behind the head, and the Renaissance painters like Leonardo da Vinci took that ring behind the head and instead put it in perspective to make it a ring floating around the head. By the way, sneak peek, the Renaissance is a time frame that we're going to talk about next week. And we're going to talk about how they started making things look more real by using things like perspective. But that perspective is exactly what we mean when we're talking about taking this halo ring that was behind the head and flipping it up around the head. It's just changing which way you're looking at that ring. Is it behind or is it around? It's just looking at it a different way. And still to this day, we use the halo as a symbol to show that a person is a really good, wholesome, holy person. Someone that we should look up to and try to be like. So if we're drawing both types of halos, the halo behind the head and the halo around the head or above the head, if we're drawing both of those types, we need to split our paper into two sections. What I'm going to do is fold my paper. Now, I happen to have a paper that's in a sketchbook. So if I'm using a paper that's in a sketchbook, it's easy to fold that nice and straight by just lining up the edge of this with all of these spirals here on the edge of my, the other end of my book, and then press flat. I like to use my thumbnail to press flat so I get a nice good crease. What if you don't have a sketchbook? Maybe you have just a plain piece of paper. Well, it's the same idea. You want to line up the two sides. What I'm doing here is I'm going to make the corners kiss. Are those corners kissing? No, those corners need to kiss. Line them up, put those corners together so they're kissing. Well, if these corners are kissing, these ones need to kiss too. I don't want these ones to be wonky. I want these corners kissing as well. When the corners are all kissing, I'm going to lay those flat and hold them down where the corners are still kissing. And then I'm going to reach down and use my thumbs. Now, I have big hands, so this is easy for me to do. If you got smaller hands, you might need to practice. And you might need to use, hold it down with one hand and then press it with the other. Once you've got it started, you can press. I like to press with my thumbnail. Another option is to press with the smooth end of a marker cap or something, just to press it and get a nice solid line there. And then once you've folded it, you're going to unfold it. What? Why? I thought we were... Well, we're going to unfold it. We're going to draw a line down that fold. Oops, oh well. You're going to zip a line down that fold. Now we have two sections of our paper. Cool. Same thing if you're doing it in a sketchbook. Unfold it and zip a line down that folded line. There we go. Now, we're going to be drawing two people. They could be the same person twice, or it could be two different people. I want you to think about somebody who is like a super good, a person that you should really look up to, the kind of person who you would look at them and say, you're such an angel. Yeah, that kind of a person. Maybe you are religious and you want to use a figure from your religion, like maybe you're a Christian and you want to draw Jesus. Maybe you are a Jew and you want to draw God. Maybe you are a Muslim and you want to draw Allah or Muhammad, or maybe you're a Buddhist and you want to draw Buddha. Maybe you are a Hindu and you want to draw Shiva. There's really, you could pick a person from your, or a figure, a holy figure from your religion, or you could just make it like your mom. Maybe you think, oh, my mom is such an angel. Well, if you draw your mom and then put a halo around her head, she's gonna love getting that picture when you bring it home to her and you say, Mommy, look, I drew you, Mommy, and I put a halo around you because you're an angel. Don't you think that? Anyway, it could be anybody. It could be yourself, really. I mean, anybody, it doesn't matter. And we could draw it cartoony style or draw the person. Really, you just draw the person however you're going to draw the person. It could be the same person twice. It could be two different people. Totally up to you. If you don't remember how to draw people, remember a couple of weeks ago we drew some folks, some people wearing masks, some little cartoony pictures of people wearing masks, you could draw them the same way we drew those. If you don't remember, we drew those by starting with a U, because you are special. Not because of the letter U, but anyway. And then we did like the hairline, and then the top of the hair. And then in that lesson, we drew masks. You could draw this person wearing a mask or not wearing a mask. Either way, you know, whichever, it's up to you. I'm gonna draw this little boy wearing a mask. Sure, why not? Because that's something to look up to. Like if you see somebody doing what they're supposed to do with their mask, wearing it the right way, then, you know, that's a very wholesome thing to do, something we should look up to, yeah. Anyway, then the neck, the shoulders, and maybe this is gonna be a boy wearing a t-shirt. So let's give him some short sleeves. And maybe he's wearing shorts. And then we see the rest of his leg and his foot wearing some kind of a shoe. And then his other leg and his foot wearing some kind of a shoe. That foot's bigger. Oh well. He has no arms. He has no arms. You know, in my last video where I was showing how to draw these little cartoony figures, we didn't draw any hands because we were like trying to, you know, hide them, be silly, like oh, if you don't know how to draw hands, we'll just hide them behind his back or something. If you want to draw hands, you can draw hands. If you want to hide them behind his back, you can do that too. Keep in mind that if we are drawing a cartoony figure, most times when you draw a cartoon, you don't draw all 5 fingers. Most cartoons only have 4, like 3 fingers and a thumb. And that's because, like, especially if you're drawing with a big thick marker like this, getting all of the fingers in is hard to do. So what I want to do is have the thumb, and 1, 2, 3 fingers, like he's waving at you. And then his other hand is just going to be down by his side. And let's see, I'm going to see his thumb. And here I'm not going to see all of his fingers, right? Right? Because his hand is sideways. Okay. Anyway, he's waving at us. Now, I want to draw 2 people, but before I get to the second one, I want to give them both a halo. Now, the first halo is going to be the behind the head kind of halo. And how do we do that? Well, that's simple. It's just a circle. That's all it is. It's just a circle that wraps all the way around the head. And the important thing is that we use a really bright color to color that in. I'm going to go ahead and color that halo yellow. Any bright, it really needs to be bright, like golden or yellow. If you happen to have like a metallic colored pencil or something like that, or a metallic crayon, that would be even better. Use a sparkly or like a glittery crayon. You know, some people have the big box with like 64 or 128 different colored crayons or colored pencils. If you've got that and you have some metallic colors, something really shiny, use that, or glittery, use that. I don't have that with me right here, so I'm just using a regular old yellow. That still works because it's really bright, right? Okay, we'll come back and color the rest of this person later. We need to draw a second person with the second style of halo. Now, for this one, this is the only part where the halo gets tricky. The first one was super simple. It's just a circle, that's all it is. The second one, we gotta understand perspective. Perspective. I have some circles here. Let's see, this right here, this is a lens cap for my camera. And what shape is it? It's a circle. But what happens, what shape does that circle look like if I turn it in perspective? Well, if I take this circle and I turn it in perspective, and you're looking at it kind of side on, not looking at it straight down, doesn't that kind of make it look like an oval? It looks squished, doesn't it? Again, this is a circle. This lens cap covers, it's to cover up the lens of a camera. This lens cap is a circle, but if you tilt it in perspective and look at it from a different angle, it looks like an oval. So that's thing number one. The shape of our halo on this character is not going to be a circle, it's going to be an oval. We also need to overlap. Part of it is going to be in front of her head, the other part is going to be behind her head, overlapping underneath, behind. How do we do that? Well, here's the thing. I'm going to start kind of on the side of her hairstyle, the side of her head. I'm going to wrap around and draw an oval and then stop when I get to the other side of her head. This oval is not going to go up above her head, it's going to go through her hair. Here's what I mean. I'm going to start down here. I'm drawing an oval, drawing an oval, drawing an oval, and I stop when I get back to the other side of her head. Do you see how that looks like a ring around Saturn or Jupiter, right? It's going in front of this side, the top part of it is going in front of her hair, but then the back part of it is going behind her head. Now, if I leave it as just that one line, that's a black line. It's not really glowing, is it? I need to give it some thickness to make it to where I can color it yellow or gold or whatever, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make another oval. I'm just wrapping around the first one. But notice how it's only got thickness at the top. Where it goes back behind, it kind of turns into just a line. Okay? Now, I can color in this ring, this halo ring, around her head. There. Now, if you were drawing it floating more up above her head instead of around the top of her head, if you were floating it up, then you would see the whole oval instead of it overlapping. But overlapping is a very important skill that we need to practice. So there it is. For the rest, all that's left is to just finish coloring the rest of these characters and then we're done. And that is all there is to it. I've left their clothes white because I thought, hey, usually angels are depicted wearing white. Because white is a symbol of purity and holiness. So that's why I left it white. If you want to draw her wearing a red dress or a yellow t-shirt or whatever, it's up to you, blue jeans, whatever. You color it how you want. I'm going to call this done. Other thoughts, if you've got extra time and you're looking for something to do, you could draw wings behind your characters. You could draw a whole family of your characters. You could draw the ground under their feet and the sky up above. Or, hey, if you're drawing them with wings, you might just draw some clouds around behind them and like they're flying in the sky. There's lots of different ways you could go with this. Or you could, if you're drawing specific characters from your religious text, you could draw them doing things that they do in the Bible or the Quran or whatever book you're coming from. So today we talked about how religious artists often use their artwork to show their characters, their figures, their holy figures, holy characters from their religion. Sometimes to tell stories about those characters and other times just to look up to them as a person that they should try to be like. We also hinted at how visual styles changed during the Renaissance about 400 or 500 years ago, which is exactly what we're going to focus on next week when we talk all about the Renaissance and the push towards realism in art. I can't wait to see you then.